Every time I go by this building, I think of the 80s and how cool it was to grow up during that time. Welcome everyone, this is Hugo with Signs of the Pastime, and today I'm doing a video that's inspired by one of my favorite YouTubers who has an 80s theme, a 3D 80s theme. I'm talking about John with 3D 80's Kid. Recently, John had a trivia question in one of his videos, and I submitted my answer. I didn't win the grand prize, but John is such a generous guy, such a cool dude that he still went ahead and sent me one of his custom channel cards. And here it is, the 3D 80's Kid YouTube channel card. And he numbered it 20 out of 99. I believe he put the 20 on there because that was Monty Irvin's jersey number, and that's the giveaway that I'm currently doing. The link is in the description down below. So enter that. All you have to do is subscribe and comment on that video, and you'll be entered into the contest. So yeah, John is really generous. Didn't have to do that, but I'm glad he did. It's my very first YouTube channel custom card. So thank you, John. Appreciate that. Even though I didn't win the grand prize, he still sent me a Raleigh Fingers card, which is cool. My Raleigh Finger story is when I started collecting cards in the 80's kid myself. I didn't know how to pronounce Raleigh Fingers. I thought it was a nickname. So being that his mustache was all curly like that, like you see in the picture there, I thought his name was Rolly Fingers, that he would roll his mustache with his fingers. And so I called him Rolly Fingers, thinking it was a nickname. It turns out that's his name and it's pronounced Raleigh. Well, so that's my Raleigh Finger story. And on the back of John's card, I found out that he's into 1960 tops, which is great because so am I. That is my go-to set to get autographed for vintage cards. Just love the design of it with the up-close picture and the action shot next to it and the alternating colors on the name. I like everything about it. And I like horizontal cards. Autographs just fit better on there. Yeah, 1960 Topps is such a great set, filled with stars, Hall of Famers. But I'd like to talk about the lesser known guys like George Altman. If you're not familiar with George Altman, he's a very historic player. He's one of 3 guys to have played in the Negro Leagues, the Major Leagues, and in Japan. The other 2 were Don Newcombe and Larry Doby. So George Altman, he's also the first guy to hit 2 home runs in a game off of Sandy Koufax, which is not an easy task. The other 2 guys were Felipe Alou and Ernie Banks. So a pretty good company that George is in. This, again, his 1960 Topps card. In '61, he made the All-Star team, and he played alongside Roberto Clemente and Hank Aaron in right field. So, you know, he was a pretty good player. He said his best year was actually at the age of 41. He was killing the ball in Japan. Then he got colon cancer, and he beat that, came back, and played. And he said that he would have still been playing if it wasn't for cancer slowing him down. He's still alive, 90 years old. But again, George Altman, one of the all-time greats. Another one of those lesser-known guys is Hal Smith. He was the backup catcher for the 1960 Pirates. And in the 1960 World Series against the Yankees, Hal, up until Mazeroski's home run in the 9th inning to win it, Hal had a 3-run homer in the bottom of the 8th to give the Pirates the lead. They were down 7-6. And Clemente and Dick Grote were on base. And Hal hit a home run, a very improbable home run that put the Pirates up 9-7. Of course, the Yankees went out to tie it and build up that drama in the 9th inning for Bill Mazeroski to win it. But Al Smith had a huge monster home run. He could have been the hero. Everybody would know Al Smith as the guy with the winning hit. Again, just a great story of a backup catcher. I think Smokey Burgess was the main catcher, and Al was in there, and Danny Murtaugh let him in to hit, and yeah, he had that awesome home run. Another one of those guys I like to collect is Joey J. And his claim to fame was he's the first Little League alumni to make the major leagues. That's actually where scouts first noticed him, playing Little League baseball. And made the major leagues at 17, had a pretty decent career. Still alive. and he's a good TTMer. For the last guy that I want to talk about, I'm here at this little bookshop called Pressed because this former ball player was an author, so I'm here to look for one of his books. Although this bookshop looks like it carries mostly newer books, so I'll be hard pressed to find anything written by this man, but if they do have something, I'm going to be really impressed. Long before literary classics like Juiced by Jose Canseco and Ball 4 by Jim Bouton were written, this man was taking the reader into the Major League clubhouse behind closed doors and talking about what life was like for a Major League ball player. And this is former Cincinnati Reds pitcher Jim Brosnan. And here's his 1960 Topps card that he autographed right above the brim of his cap, which looks really cool. And it is JSA certified, which is awesome. Jim may not look like a ball player. I mean, after all, his nickname was the Professor because he just liked to read books. That's what he did in the clubhouse, in the dugout, in the bullpen. But he was a really good pitcher. It's just that after he wrote his book, the first one, The Long Season, it was met with heavy criticism. It was also met with lots of praise. To this day, a lot of people consider it the best baseball book ever written. But he liked to write, and he just wanted, that's what he wanted to do. Teams didn't like it much, though. They didn't want their dirty laundry out there, so they were putting clauses in his contract about not writing about what was going on behind closed doors. And Jim didn't like that, so he pretty much called it quits pretty early on in his career. He was only 34 when he retired, and he was still pitching really well. But it just goes to show you that baseball wasn't ready for a guy like Jim yet. 1961. Not 1961, 60. 1960. Not 61, 60. Here, little Timmy. And that's the 1960 Topps. And that's 3D 80's kid. It's his favorite set. Look how beautiful these cards are. Do you like it?
I love it. Yeah.
Well, that does it for this video. Shout out again to John, 3D 80's kid, for hooking me up with my first custom channel card. Beautiful day, talking baseball cards, 1960 Topps. Thank you for watching. See you next time.